Hello, everyone. My name is Meghan LeVota. I'm an ENFJ, and today I'm here with INFP Hillary. You might know her from INFx TV.
Yes.
I'm so happy to have you here. I've been waiting for like
I know, I've been
years.
waiting for so long. This is like, finally,
I'm
this
so
is, yeah.
excited.
It took the coronavirus to get
I
us.
know, right? So if you don't know, Hillary, how long have you been making videos?
Oh my God, for at
Years.
least 5 years, I
Yeah.
started, I was obsessed with MBTI back in like 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Started making videos with my ex back in like 2015 and just kind of dove into impersonations. That's what I started doing.
Yes. That's what
And
I
so
was
that's kind
about
of
to
like what I got
say.
known for.
Because
And then
that's
I
how I discovered
stopped.
you.
Yeah. It's a
Oh
long
my
time
God.
ago. I was like an impersonation grandma. And then,
They're
yeah.
so on point. And you know what?
You.
Now there's like people on TikTok doing
I know
impersonations of
it's like
type.
a thing now.
Now people are like, Hillary who? And you're like, I started this.
I'm like, oh, gee, what up?
But like seriously, your impersonations too, whenever I first discovered you, I was like, you actually know type. Like this is not just some weird parody. I was like, man, like you must have really been observing these people because I like could tell like it was like legit. I don't
Thank
know.
you. Thank you.
So,
That's so sweet.
so
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, to me it felt like I really part of the reason why I liked starting making videos is because I am not the best with like verbal communication
Mm,
and linear thought process, but I wanted to get these concepts out and I wanted to talk to community about them and I wanted to share perspectives with everybody. And I was like, the best way I can do this is to be it. Like, I don't know how
yes.
else, that's like
Oh
my
my
preferred
goodness.
way, but some
I
of
just
it,
realized.
get some hate.
Oh, well, fuck the haters. Well,
Yeah, I agree.
I just realized though that that's very INFP of you actually to want to sort of inspire through your being rather than needing to preach it or like explain it, you know?
Yeah.
So I love
Yeah, you're
that.
right. You're so right. I think it's like just the existence. That's like what I'm like,
Yes.
help but do it. I feel weird if I'm like, just like, okay, I'm gonna now teach you about this subject. Like,
Yeah.
I really struggle and I don't know if it's like low TI. I mean, I'm sure that's a big part of it, but I also like never plan a video. And I think if I was more willing to do that and write out ideas and write, you know, um, everything that I wanted to say and practice, like maybe I
Oh
could
wow.
get better at that. But
I
that just like
feel
every time I film, it's like, I guess I'm randomly filming now. Like,
that's so interesting to me because I feel like if I were to make an impressions video, I feel like I would have to practice, I would have to prepare, like I would have to make sure
girl.
it's like so like whatever I do is just whenever I'm not really prepared. So like and so like the preparation might come from me learning about the concept, thinking
Mhm.
about it, but
Oh,
like I guess it's so interesting how like for you the sort of playful way of explaining in a way where people don't even realize they're learning by the end of it, they're just laughing, but then they don't realize that, oh okay, you're actually really embodying something that's very true about this type, you know. So did
thank
you
you.
plan those videos or
No,
how did you
I
just get it?
filmed, so insider scoop.
Ooh, the inside
I filmed,
scoop.
yeah, get it here first. I
Well,
filmed
I do
the,
have a journalism degree, so here we go. I'm breaking the
yes, oh my
story.
God, this is perfect.
Oh my god.
I filmed the ISFP, INFJ, and INFP videos back to back. I
Mm,
literally just like I felt weirdly inspired, like, oh, I need to do this. And I sat down and I did the ISFP one and I immediately stood up and did the INFJ one and then laid
oh
on
my
the
god.
couch and did the INFP one. I don't know. It was just like,
I love it. The
yeah,
INFJ one was
nothing.
so on point. Like
Thank you.
I remember too back in the day, like because I started to get into type in like 2012 as well, and I think my first video
Yeah.
was in like 2015. I
Yeah,
feel
because
like
I remember seeing you. Like I was on there,
yeah,
commented, and I was like, oh my gosh, We need to be friends.
Yeah.
And then like
Oh
I
my
went and
God.
watched your, yes,
It's been so
dude.
long, and now
I
we're like
know.
finally face to face.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But like I feel like back then, like all the videos on MBTI was pretty much just INFJs explaining how much it
Yeah.
meant to them, and they were all
I
like
know.
30-minute videos. And like
Oh
it
yeah.
was so hard to find any other type, and it still kind of is that way. But I think that there's
Especially
a
with
lot,
censored.
yeah, there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
more people talking about type in a more dedicated way. But back
Mm-hmm.
then, it was almost all like INFJs popping on to talk about how they're different than everyone else. And I feel like you so captured that vibe in
Oh
your
God.
in your like impression.
Thank you.
No offense to any of the INFJs.
I mean, I hope not. I did not intend that. A lot of them are upset if you look at my
Really?
comments.
Oh no.
But you know, I think overall, like there is truth to it, and I didn't mean anything bad by it. I was like, this is just like what you see them doing. This is just like
Yeah.
what's happening.
And I mean, NFJs poke fun at the NFPs, so why not
Right. That's
the
another thing of
opposite?
like, let's just not take ourselves so seriously. Like, let's just have,
Yes.
you're in good hands.
Yes.
You know?
So, kind of what we really want to talk about in this video, too, is about kind of the difference between INFP, ENFJ, but also how we both have sort of developed our shadow side. Because if you didn't know, INFP and ENFJ, we both feel and then intuit and then sense and then think, but we do it in the opposite orientation. And
Mm-hmm.
so there are many people that believe or would describe it as the INFP as being my shadow side, or that the ENFJ is your shadow side.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I guess this is something I think about, but I haven't really come to a conclusion on like how it works. But you'll see a lot
Right.
of comments out there of people being like, "Oh, INFP is your shadow self." Like to me, or like, what do you think about all that?
Yeah. So, well, thinking about the shadow in general, like, right, it's known to be kind of the inverse of the same kinds of, the same lineup of priorities, big picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like my brain, as soon as you're talking about this, which I didn't even think about necessarily
Mm-hmm.
before we started filming, but this particular thought of like, okay, you could think of your shadow as being that, but then there's so many ways to think of like duality and opposite.
Yes.
But then you could, for me, INFP, I could think about ESTJ, same functions, different orders. So
Yes.
the ENFJ for me, when
Mm-hmm.
I think about that, and particularly my shadow,
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger, I think I was jealous of ENFJs. I saw
Mm-hmm.
them doing what I couldn't do and I wasn't willing to do.
Interesting. Can you explain that a little bit? And then after I can talk about my impression of INFP then too.
Yeah,
Especially
so
like, and I like how you're talking about when you're younger too, because it's sort of this pure FINE reaction.
well,
Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it's kind of like us at our purest, most, I don't know, original state when we're
Yes.
younger. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, when you're younger, you have got to be like in your ego, right? Like you've got
Yeah.
how to make decisions in the easiest way and the best way. I mean, even if you're just thinking about like, I'm an animal, how do I do this?
Yeah. And we're still figuring out what our ego even is. Like, especially like if you're like middle school age or something, like we're coming into like, who even are we?
Right.
So that ego is so
Exactly.
important.
For sure. So I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, of course, like where you are then is going to be so strong. Like you're all the pendulums that we always have like sitting on our
Yeah.
desks that are swinging, right? Like that one is just like way on one side, whatever type you are. Like my INFP is like, bam.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. It's so funny.
Okay, so I am drawing from past experiences on really like one ENFJ in particular because I
Mhm.
don't think I knew a lot of ENFJs when I was younger. Like my
Mhm.
friends, I don't think I ever really had ENFJ friends until I became an adult, and just trying to think, I had INFJ, ENFP, ESFP. Yeah, I don't know, but I cannot like pull to the forefront of my brain any ENFJs. But anyway, so this one ENFJ was this is going to sound confusing. She's my ex-sister-in-law.
Okay.
Okay. But she was like, I think she's roughly like 15, 16 years older than me.
Okay.
And I've known her for a long time. I've known her since I was like 13. So I would just like watch her, what she seemed to do with such ease was make the joy that she found in herself and other people equal. She always was talking and building other people up, giving out compliments, shining the spotlight on everybody. And she also wouldn't hesitate to do it to herself, but it seemed normal. Like she had this worldview, it seemed, that I just don't think I really understood until I was an adult, of like, everybody is necessary in this system and everybody has gifts and we all need to shine. And part of how I shine is by shining lights on others. Speaking from her perspective. And as somebody who has like struggled to be like, oh, I think I have a gift. Like, can I say,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So from that, I think there's something about me as a kid that always hoped that somebody would like see my gifts and help me do that.
Oh wait, this is gonna make me so emotional.
No, I'm not
in a good way, because like that's like kind of what I did to my INFP friend without trying when I was like 12.
Oh my god.
So I'm just like thinking of her at that age. But keep going.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely like, yeah, middle school, high school.
Awkward time.
Yes, and like she just seemed to like have this ease with the world and with other people that like I feel like when I was especially, so like I went through a few years where I was really struggling with depression, anxiety, panic attacks. And so I was very closed up. Like as a kid, I was super, like I would probably type to myself as an ENFP as a kid. Like I wouldn't, something flipped at some point and I became super introverted, and now I feel like I'm just like whatever. But where was I going with this? Goodness gracious.
Well, I was going to say really quick too, just that my best friend from middle school, high school, like my first really best friend I ever had was an INFP, and we met in community theater, and she was the most hilarious person. Like she like was one of the best actresses, but then I noticed she didn't really talk to anyone. Like she would like go on stage and crack everyone up, and then she would just kind of be like, all right, cool, thanks, and like kind of sit in the back or something. Like she was like shy, but like was able to like turn on during like acting. And so I was always the one where I was like, dude, you're so hilarious. Like, and like everything she like said under her breath that like no one heard, I would be like, oh, did you guys hear what she said? Like I was like so annoying. Like, but I would always be like, I would like repeat her jokes and like tell other people like, oh my God, did you hear what like Tara just said? And like I feel like that was probably kind of annoying of me, but like I never claimed the jokes as my own, right? Like I always was like,
yeah, you're giving credit. That's what ENFJs do. You guys always do that. That's like the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, so it's like we just started hanging out like constantly, and like, and she's told me before too, like because she was nervous to try out for certain things in high school, and I like pretty much begged her to do everything that I did. Well, because she always had that spark of wanting to like be on stage, but like even like trying out for the musical when it got to high school and it was more competitive, and like choir and like speech and debate, forensic stuff. It's like I dragged her. I like not that she wasn't going to do it on her own, but I like very
Yeah.
persuasively convinced her to do all of those things. And it's like she actually went on to major in theater. So she
Oh
has
my
a theater
God.
degree. But like I
You
like
helped her
have,
do what she wanted to do.
yeah, and like I would never claim that as like me, but like even hearing you say how you wanted that, it is
Mm-hmm.
touching to me, because it's like for me, from my perspective, it's like that was all her. She had it in her all along,
Right.
you know?
That's crazy. Yeah, like for me, I it is that of like I'll look at an ENFJ, or like I'd look at this particular one and be like, how are you just like you it's like this confidence that's just
Mhm.
there, which is weird because I my friends and my family have always told me like, wow, Hillary, you just have like a confidence. But I think it's a different
Yeah,
confidence.
I think
Like,
it is. And I actually was about to say, I feel like ENFJ confidence can feel very fragmented. It's like part of us really is, but part of us isn't. And I wonder if it's like opposite for you then. Like,
hmm,
because the thing with INFPs is like maybe you might feel not confident putting yourself out there, but are you ever going to
yes.
really change who you are to your core? It's like you guys do seem confident about that, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm trying to think in my head of like what is it? I think I always want new perspectives. I ask people what, for advice a lot about what to do in certain scenarios, but I always just do my own thing. And the
Yeah.
people in my life know that. Like when I'm asking you for something, it's also not necessarily looking for a self-validation. I'm wanting to get information that I might have missed, I think.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm always going to make my own decision and do what I want.
It's so interesting because I feel like I do something very similar. And
Hmm.
hearing you say that, it's making me even wonder if this could have to do with our like inferior thinking or something,
Mm.
to where it's like, sure, I'll ask people their thoughts, but I'm gonna do what feels right. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Is that like
Like,
a dominant feeling thing of like, no, we just have to like stay true to this?
yeah, and I guess like the thing that FE stays true to is different in the sense to where it's like I'm gonna do the right thing at the end of the day, sort of
Hmm.
thing.
Right.
But I do think part of it though for you is that you are dominant introverted judging, and that you aren't as easily persuaded by the other
Hmm.
people. And
Right.
that does come off very confident. I mean, I have found INFPs to be very intimidating because they just look like they don't need anyone. They look
Huh.
like they just can waltz through life and be themselves and be content
Oh,
with who they are.
interesting. I'm thinking about particularly what you're saying with like not needing anybody. And I'm trying to step outside of myself a little bit with that because so I know I've mentioned this to you before, but being an Enneagram 9,
Mm-hmm.
I think I most of my life have attached parts of myself to things other than myself.
Mm-hmm.
To other people in the sense that like how will I exist without this person? I can remember being a kid and literally thinking like what happens when I'm an adult and I don't have these certain people around me, like my mom around me? What happens when I don't have this
Hmm.
relationship anymore? How do I survive?
I think that perhaps the attachments that INFPs make with people are not very much expressed, uh, in the sense
Hmm.
that they're like personal attachments you feel like
Right.
like that, because I know like even with my INFP friend that she's a very empathetic person, and like she recently was working at a job like where it was like in the health industry before all this happened, and it was like she could not get rid of everyone else's baggage. And I know a lot of people talk about how FE like is the type that like picks up on all of the emotional baggage around you. But I mean, I think INFPs could do that too. But like maybe you guys aren't explaining it, or I don't know, like, or even like she moved and I know she's very close with her family and it
Mm-hmm.
like really misses her family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there was an FI attachment, like it was hard for her to let that go and be her
Right.
own but it's like still, I guess from my perspective, at the end of the day, INFPs always do what's like right for them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So it does take confidence, it looks like. But I think
I
really
And
another
it's
aspect.
weird because it looks like that to you because that's your norm. But like for me, I'm just like, I don't know how I would deal with it if I did something other than that. Like I would continue to in my mind like come back to it. It would just be like an
You're
annoyance.
right.
You know what I mean?
Oh my god, and that's the same, like people think I'm very confident and bold about things where I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the best choice with what I have.
Yeah, exactly. You're easing attention in your life. Like that's the easy route
Yes.
for you.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. So
It's an
okay,
ease.
I just thought of something too, is that so for you with your FI, it's like you know that if you don't choose what you want, that what you want is always going to be like coming to the surface or bothering you, right? Is that how it
Mm-hmm.
feels?
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like if I don't do something to change a situation that is directly making me and others upset, then it's going to continue to do that the rest of my
Right.
life.
Yes, exactly.
So I might as well be part of the solution.
Right.
And then it's like, I don't even think about really solving a problem. I just think about as long as I'm a part of the solution.
So, like, have there ever been times in your life where you've been in that kind of a scenario and you've literally chosen to do the opposite just to see if
Hmm.
what would happen or what you would do? Or, like, if you could get over that tension and then what it would
Yes.
look like for you to overcome that?
In fact,
Because I've done that on purpose.
yeah,
I've
I
been in a
do.
scenario where it's like not possible for me to like achieve the outcome that I want or something. Um, and I have to
Well,
just literally be there like
really,
watching that like sail ship of like I could have done it this way and I can't. And
yeah, I think that for me, something that really constantly causes emotional roller coasters for me
yeah,
is anyone micromanaging me or not trusting me and not communicating. And I really just want freedom. And there's a certain part of me that feels like I won't feel okay until I am able to feel more free in whatever way that looks like. And
okay,
some things that I think make me not feel free are societal. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
a lot of the problems are like these societal norms where it's like,
mm,
and this is where I think the ENFJ can get very idealistic, is something I've been thinking about now that everyone's indoors, is it's like, I'm like, it's so messed up that everyone is like stuck in an office during daylight
yeah,
and you miss nature
yeah,
and you
mhm,
don't get to go outside. It's I was talking to my INFJ partner about this. We were like, man, I'd so much rather work in the evening and have my days free so that I can actually enjoy the sun. It's like
right,
there's no reason why we are all in office.
right,
Like it just so much about society makes zero sense to me in the sense that it's not
right,
prioritizing people's happiness. But there are just certain things like that where it's like I can try and like be a part of the solution. Like there's a certain extent to where if you don't change it for everyone, it's like there's this sort of FE baseline where
mm-hmm,
like if that is not okay, then can humans thrive at all? Where it's like it's almost like you're thinking you're thinking about it from your micro perspective
Mm-hmm.
of like your personal FI. And it's almost like my FE is always focused on these different um, boundaries about uh, emotional rules or social norms that keep
Yeah.
everyone trapped, if that makes sense.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's the same thing.
yeah.
I'm trying to wonder how you slide into
Mhm.
there. Like, how do you pick yourself out in the math?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that,
And maybe that's just it, is the fact that that you are seeing that general pattern, or you
mm,
are seeing that like dissatisfaction, and so that shows you where you are. I don't know. Does that make sense?
yeah. So let me know if this kind of answers it. Is, for example, I guess I look around in the world and I see a lot of people that are unhappy, but are acting as though they're okay because the situation that they're in is decent on a comparative level,
Mm-hmm.
decent compared to, it's like, oh, at least I'm not starving or something. So
Right.
it's like there's all these different, but then I like see as an FE Dom, I could tell it's like, man, everyone is miserable because of the same thing. And
Mhm.
it's like, why? But like, it's these things where, and a lot of this is NI as well, but there are
It's
things where
what you're
people,
talking about to me
Mhm.
feels like my FI.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we might have to unravel this because I feel like we come to a lot of similar conclusions from the different
Yeah.
perspectives because, we're both feelers first. Like, you're
Right.
definitely impacted by the FE. You probably just
Mhm.
aren't tracking it as much.
I think what's happening is exactly that. What I'm doing is I'm looking at me. What stages are going on in my mind? And I then am using my NE to be like, oh, this is how, like, I'm thinking about like how this is going to go down the line. Like,
Yeah, okay, that makes
as I'm
sense.
going through my own like reactions to this whole new thing, I'm like, since I'm doing this, other people are doing this. And since we are all like sharing this big experience, I can count on that. I can count that like what I'm experiencing, I can project and assume that other people are.
Okay, yeah, that
But
makes
I'm
sense.
not first looking at other people. If I'm looking at other people, the things I was looking at were the systems that we have right now, like my
Mm.
work, how that's going, how it's like doesn't have to do with necessarily like
Do you think
people's
that's the
other people's
TE?
emotions. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
It's
so,
looking at the like parts of the world and humanity, but not the same things you're looking at. Like the way I'm getting the
yeah.
emotion is from me,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at systems.
Yeah, because I've noticed that FI seems to, whenever you get a feeling, you kind of know what TE system or like what impacted it. Do you like know what the cause is, whether that's a person or a thing or a system that
Like
kind of
when I
triggers?
get an FI thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so actually, you had posted something about get how you are like dealing with TE, and it made me think
Yes.
about like um certain things like that for me with my TE and my FI.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, a lot of times actually I'll have a thought that's very TE, a thought
Mm-hmm.
about a system, a thought about like, oh, this is how this should work, or like, or I need to do something about this. I need to make a decision on this. There needs to be a bottom line here. And that will get me in touch with my FI. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, have I been mulling over this in the back of my mind? Why am
Mm-hmm.
I suddenly feeling like now's the time to address this thing or look at the system or handle this? And so then it actually pings me back internally,
Yeah.
which is weird. Sometimes it's like I'm not sure what my FI is doing. Like it'll take
Mm.
external things in order to push me into it.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense based on not just INFPs, but also ENFPs that I've observed. Because I think
Mm.
that a lot of people will describe FI as like always knowing how it feels, where maybe that's can be true, or I don't
It's true
know.
if you can do something that like whacks it. You kind of got to do whack-a-mole,
Yes.
right? And just like keep touching stuff and then you'll touch it. But that's also like why people are scared of FI users, I think. Because
Oh,
no
yeah.
one knows when it's going to get activated. And if it's a negative thing, then it's like boop.
Oh my God. And I guess too, that's why it's probably really important for FPs to know what is going to cause that reaction to sort of like set boundaries or
Yeah. Or say like,
communicate.
I'm sorry, can I have like a few minutes? I think I need to like work through
Yeah.
something really quickly or take a second.
Well, I've seen NFP, like friends of mine, INFPs too, sort of react strongly to very random things. At
Yeah.
least they seem random to me,
Yes. That's what
where it's like, oh my God, so and so posted this image. What does that mean? Or like just things
Mhm.
I don't really know
Yeah.
why there's such a strong reaction. It doesn't seem
Right.
like they know either. But it might be just like something that happens that then inspires you to think about how much something matters to you,
Yep.
or like, or it seems like even just events in reality can remind FI what it already feels, but maybe
Yeah.
that feeling was like latent in some way.
Yeah. Mhm. For sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I think FI is kind of always humming in the background.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
like a little
Yeah. That
generator.
just reminded me of something that Crystal had told to me
Oh,
before, where like I
Crystal,
think
shout
it's,
out.
yeah, shout out if you're watching. But like I think that like I tend to think about my emotions as like I notice these peaks and what they mean. Like I'll look at my whole day and be like, I was kind of frustrated, kind of feeling inspired. And I noticed these like peaks, but at any given moment, if you were to ask me how I feel, I'm probably going to be speaking more generally about the day or the past week. Like,
Mm,
I feel like, and I've had other FI users kind of describe something similar to me as you're saying, that little hum in the background. And I do think that I get, I get what you mean. Like, I get what that is, but like, it almost just reminds me of like, it's just so granular that is it, do you need to look at all that information, or if you are looking at all that information, could you get tricked into thinking that something matters more
mhm.
or less
It's
than it doesn't?
yeah. So this is like an issue that I think all INFPs
Mm-hmm.
will run up against. And I kind of articulated this when I was talking with Nate in my last video of
Mm-hmm.
like, I have struggled in the past because my FI, if there's a scenario or multiple people involved in something or whatever, my mind will look at my FI and then your FI and your FI and yours. And then the like, if the scenario is like this, okay, well, what's the FI of that? What about if it's like this? What's the FI of that? So my brain is like spending too much energy
Mm-hmm.
trying to gather all these FIs, and inevitably they will conflict with each other.
Can you explain what that process is like of like gathering someone's FI?
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can do this. Basically, if I were them in the scenario, what would I want? How would I be feeling?
Mm-hmm.
What would I be searching for?
This is the problem that happens with me and INFPs, is that I've noticed that unless you either have known me a while, or you have a solid read on me, which I guess could depend on the
Mm-hmm.
person, that sometimes that FI they gather from me is wrong, and it could be very insulting. And I know I've talked about this on my channel and I've told
Well,
you
so
this, But
Okay, yeah. This is, to me, that's very similar to how I feel about NI. NI thinks it will know
mm,
something about me, and I'll be like, no. And they'll be like, you'll see. But I think
okay,
FI
yeah,
users do that to other people with feelings.
yeah, yeah.
I definitely have told people before, like literally to their face, like, you will care about this. Like you are going, or like you are going to have this issue, or like you are not aware of this, but it, like I'm trying to help you be aware of it,
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. I'm trying to
which
think
is
of some
kind of
examples for
overstepping a
FI.
boundary.
No, but
What?
I'm wondering about some NI examples of that too, because I do believe that introverted functions do that
Mm-hmm.
because it's subjective based on the person's subjective understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I also think that a lot of times it's right.
Yeah,
So,
I do too. I mean, I think the majority, especially if you're like a DOM or secondary user of one of
mhm,
those functions, I think
mhm.
it's worth listening to those people.
Yes, yes. So with NI, is it sort of like, have you had people tell you that something that like you will care about some, or I guess I'm trying to separate that.
Yeah. How have, oh goodness, thinking of a tangible example. Um,
I'm wondering if I've done that or if I've experienced that. Although I do know, okay, like I do know like my ENTJ uncle can kind of get like that with politics where he'll just sort of be like, yeah, this person's going to win. That's a fact. Like, and sometimes I'm like,
it's
well, you don't know who's going to show up to the polls, or like you don't know what
mhm,
will happen before then, or like I like, but like I also get like he is typically right. Like,
right. So for me,
is that kind of what you mean of like,
certain things, but to me, a lot of the time, what happens is an NI user, and this only happens if like, I don't know, they're upset or like there's something going on. Because a lot of
so
times,
I
uh,
have observed INFJs when they're upset, kind of, I think doing what you're talking about.
oh, you have, okay. So like for me, it kind of crosses a weird boundary into like become truth versus self-fulfilling prophecy, and how much you think a
Mhm.
self-fulfilling prophecy is truth. This is like philosophical AF, but
Okay. I think you're so
like,
right though.
cool. Thank you. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that's okay that you already kind of understand where I'm
Yes, because
going.
I think I'm kind of reminded of another video you did, but definitely continue what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like an okay, let's say like an INFJ says to me like, okay, well the scenario is going to play out this way. And I'm like, you don't know that. They'll be like, yeah, because you're going to do this. I'm going to do this is just how it like duh, of course. And I'm like, there are so many things that could happen right
Yeah.
between now and then, and they're like, those things don't matter, it's still going to be this way. And I'll be
Mm,
like, now you're going to make it be that way because you
yes. Yes.
like, and it won't actually be for the reasons that you initially thought. Like now it will still have that outcome, but the whole way we're going to get there or whatever is going to be different, but you'll still be right. And that's what bothers me is like, now we're going to be there, but you won't even see that. Like if we had just kept going, this probably wouldn't
Okay.
have happened.
Yeah. I totally see what you mean
And now
because
it's also like the power of
mhm.
suggestion. It's planting a seed, right? It's like, oh, there's this outcome, and now I'm thinking about it.
Do you know what it reminds me of is if anyone ever reads tarot, you have
Oh
to
yeah,
know that the cards, they can predict the future if you continue doing exactly what you've been doing. But you
yeah,
should never see it as a this is exactly how it's going to be because you can change your attitude. So like this is kind of tangential, but like I mean if you are someone that reads tarot even just for fun, I
mm-hmm.
always suggest asking what attitude should I have to help move me through whatever I'm going through, because
Mm-hmm.
that can give you something to reflect on rather than what is going to be the outcome. And if you're thinking, what's the outcome? Then that is like, this is the current outcome unless something changes. I think for NI, a lot of times it is right in the sense that people are not considering how can I change, like what can I do, and they are just kind of going on this autopilot. But
Right.
like even like sometimes it's like I'm realizing like there's been times I've had a job where I would be like, I feel like I'm about to quit. I keep getting upset. I keep feeling defeated. This isn't worth it. And then like I have to actively change my perspective on it. Is that like kind of what you mean, is like where you think that sometimes the solution is that you just change your perspective and things will change?
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Or like there's even been times.
Not always though, but I'll say in
Yeah.
general, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think sometimes depending on where we are in life, we're going to seek out certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of no matter what we do. Like what things are just going to come to us because of maybe some kind of like subconscious need that we're not aware of. The certain people that we have placed in our life, the certain things that clearly we have set up for ourselves. Right?
Yeah.
I think like will lead you to be aware of what you're doing and what's going on. I think that's what NI is like literally naturally good at seeing.
Yeah.
Is seeing
Absolutely.
what have you placed where? Look at what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. And so I guess it's interesting because I wonder if NI users have told you that because they can tell that you aren't really focusing on like the NI of what you're doing. And so maybe that's why they're so confident in it.
Right,
But
because yeah.
like for example, when NJs come to me and they're like, I don't want this to happen, what do I do? It kind of makes me think that they're like willing to make a change in order to make that not happen.
Right.
And it kind of feels like, oh, anything could happen from here. But whenever, okay, I have been surprised by some NFP friends so many times. Like, I'm thinking of an ENFP friend where it's like obsessing over the same guy for like almost 2 years. And it's like she wants to give one more chance. And I'm like, if you do this, the same thing is going to happen. Oh my goodness,
Right.
like take my advice. But sometimes there's been times where she's like, I just know I need to do this for my own healing or something. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you've said that before, but then something will change.
Okay.
And it's
So
like
she like
something I totally didn't track. I don't know if that makes sense.
no, yeah, it does.
I feel like when NFPs are really adamant about doing something, it's like, okay, whoa, just do it then. Like you guys
I think it
clearly
because
need
it
to.
takes a lot to get there. They've tapped into
Oh yeah.
something that yeah is very powerful.
Oh yeah. I had an NFP friend that like showed up to someone's doorstep with like candy or something, and it was like someone that hasn't talked to them in months. And I was like, no, don't do that. That's gonna end so bad. But it ended up going really well. Like it was
Right.
weird. Like I don't
That's so
know.
odd. What the
And
heck?
it's like, oh, I just knew I had to or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's weird how like it I don't know if that's an intuition thing of just like
Yeah.
I've definitely had thoughts about people before where I've been like one time I was in the middle of a run. I was literally running. I ran 4 miles and I stopped dead in my tracks.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I need to call this person. They're not okay. And I called them and like they were not okay at all. And I was like, what? And I don't know if it
Whoa.
is like, I mean, that's someone I'm very close to. You know, this doesn't happen usually about strangers. It takes me like knowing somebody usually. Um, but yeah, there's like that weird sense sometimes
Mm-hmm.
about that person. I don't know. People are connected.
Yeah, they really are. Um, Hold on just a second. Yeah. Sorry, I just got something from work, but so I might need to wrap this up in about 15 minutes only because
Okay.
something just happened.
Okay.
But I do think that I feel like we should just make more videos together.
Yeah, me too. I mean, so many things that I would love to chat with you on.
Because I feel like this is all really good stuff.
We've barely
About,
hit the tip.
I know we barely even did not even scratch the surface.
Right. Like, what have we talked
So
about?
it's like I feel like there's so much that we can even, because okay, it's like I like understand FI and NE a lot in theory. And I
Mhm.
mean some in practice too. I mean, like I hear, but like every time I hear someone explain a new way of how it works, it just like really gets the gears turning of
Yes.
like, especially I think there's a lot to talk about regarding how there's actually a lot of similarities between us and like INFP and ENFJ, that
Hmm.
the behavior could just be so different
Yeah.
that it's hard to see. But like even like I find myself listening to you and other INFPs always wanting to be like, oh, me too, me too, I do that too, you know what I
Same.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Because like I guess just to respond to that is that I also do that with my friends, of like I also will just feel like someone needs me,
Yeah.
or like I'll like often feel like I can tell if someone's thinking about me, or I could tell if someone's about to do I don't know, like
Is it
I
usually
just
about
sense
like
it.
positive things, negative things, anything?
Hmm.
You know, and it makes me wonder too of like, what does that person represent inside of you? Were you actually receiving a signal from yourself that you tied to this particular person? And somehow, like, I don't know how it would still make it right, like make the timing work, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess now I'm thinking of dreams too, and this is going to get hella off topic, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
you know, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
like
something to that with like the
mhm.
particular people that like in the moment you're reaching out to, or like I'm reaching out to, I feel like I could probably trace it back to like something inside of myself that I associate with that person
Hmm.
that's
Do you
happening.
think do you think it could have to do with also just um your connection with that person? Because I think FE tends to look at it as like the bond between the two of you has this sort of weird intuitive chemistry going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of it too, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm realizing too after this is that I think that I like FI can kind of either cling to bad feelings or cling to good feelings, or
Hmm.
maybe even not realize if a good or bad feeling is going on because of the way that you're always focused on the granular motion.
Right.
So, like, there could be something good going on in the background that you take for granted, or there could be something bad
Mhm.
going on that you just have gotten used to.
Yeah, and I think sometimes an issue for INFPs there is that we'll just sit in those states where we're actually just like we're like being little sponges for whatever, you know, FI state that is. But we don't realize we're in it because we're so submerged, because we're so saturated. It takes other things in our life to show us, to like kick us out of that. Like, oh shit, okay, well, I haven't eaten a meal yet today. There we go. Like, clearly I'm in FI world right now and I don't even know it.
Do you, oh, okay. Do you feel like you also Do you think that it's more common for you to take something for granted or to cope with a bad thing without realizing? Or do you think that you do both?
I cope with a bad thing. Well, I actually don't think I take things for granted that
Mhm.
easily. I think
Mhm.
that's something I'm really thankful for.
And do you think
Um,
that that's part of the reason is that you really value not taking something for granted?
hmm.
Is that like
It's
something
not
that
a conscious thought.
is it something you try and do like, oh, okay, so it's not a
No, it
conscious
feels
thought.
like something that just I'm constantly hit with, like, oh, appreciation. I feel like I'm literally bombarded by appreciation, like feelings of appreciation. Like, I don't know where they're coming from. I just am very, I'll see a flower and just be like, oh my God, what, I love this flower, even though there's a million flowers outside. I don't know. Everything, my experience with things in life, a lot of times, even if I've experienced them
Mm.
before, everything feels new a lot of the time.
Okay, that kind of even fits even more with the idea that you are like always noticing each new feeling kind of that comes up
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yes.
Where I think that I definitely am the kind to like forget to stop and smell the flowers because I'm so changing what's wrong with things. So
Mm-hmm.
I always remember something Crystal told me, like my senior year of college was just really rough for me, which
Mm-hmm.
actually we should just make this maybe an INFP ENFJ interaction and then talk
Yeah,
about
I
shadow another
agree.
time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then do the more like the moral dilemmas of
We
that
should
too.
just have a whole other video on like moral, how to deal
Yes.
with moral scenarios.
Yes, I would absolutely love that because
Okay.
guys watching, we prepared a lot, but so
We have a
much to
whole
say.
document of stuff to talk about.
I love it. But I'm realizing though something that my ENFP friend Crystal told me when I was pretty much at my worst, which is what I think of when I think about me potentially being in an INFP shadow unhealthy state for me, which was
Yeah.
I literally had to be dragged out of bed. I didn't want to go anywhere or do anything. I just skipped class all the time.
Yep.
And I just was like constantly sad and thinking about the past, which that's not normally how I am. And so, but it just was a rough time. But anyway, like something that Crystal told me during that was that my whole life might be hard right now, but that there was still happiness sprinkled in. And that I had to
Yeah.
like learn to notice like the sprinkles of happiness, but
Okay.
also like validating that it might be a difficult time.
Right.
But the
So
thing,
maybe like your cookie doesn't taste good, but you still have sprinkles in it.
yes. And
These
so
explain everything, I'm telling you.
they really do. But like, I feel like for me, I was so focused on like the sort of conclusion at the end of the day, like the emotional conclusion of like, this day
Mm.
was not great. I don't know. Like, it's almost
Yeah.
like the way that people look at like data and analyze it, like in a TE way of like, oh, like we aren't meeting these results. I feel that way with feelings where it's like,
Yeah,
this is the
that's
standard for how happy I should be or something.
right.
So if something isn't right.
Dang. And for me, it's like, that's just what happens. Like, I'm having something shitty, and this is just how it is right now. And that's the end of the story. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just, I guess I don't know if I take on Crystal's mindset necessarily, but like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, just like, wow, well, that was unfortunate that I had a day like this, but
Hmm.
it's just inevitable. And it
See,
just, it
I
just is
think
what
that
it is.
I don't see those things as inevitable, and that's where my SE kind of can come in and try and change it.
Oh, I see.
And sometimes it is inevitable, but sometimes it's not. And I guess it's like
Yes,
figuring out the difference.
that's the hard part.
So it's interesting.
What's
It
your
seems,
threshold,
yeah, it seems like INFPs and ENFJs, we are ruminating on the same type of stuff, but we both have a different bias toward how we see it. Or like maybe
Right.
I assume that I can change it all the time, and then when I can't, I don't know how to accept it.
Right. And I am the opposite of like, oh
Yeah.
shit, what if I get caught in this like weird depressive thingy for too long because I didn't think I could do, because this is just what happens in life. It's like
Yeah.
an over acceptance. It's yeah,
Yeah, and I
thinking.
guess that, oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's like if you have had the same sort of, if life has had the same sort of social norm or like constant idea in the background your entire life, then why would you think that you could change it? Where like I feel like
Right.
a part of me thinks like, no, this is bullshit. We were born on earth to
Right.
thrive, and
Yeah.
I'm not accepting anything less. And I know that's like
Ah,
kind of annoying, but part of me, I just feel like the earth wants us to thrive, and it's humans that fuck things up.
dude, okay. And so, oh my God, this is so, I love this conversation. Like
Me
for
too.
me, it's like, okay, so say I'm in a negative, oh, I was like way out of the frame. Oh my God.
Oh no, it's cool.
Um, okay, so I'm in a negative spot, but I'm gonna learn something from that. I'm gonna
Mhm.
get something out of it and be able to understand that aspect of the human experience. And when I see someone else there, I'll know. It's like another way, like nothing is wasted, I guess. But again, that comes back to also you can't sit there forever because at some point it's not going to be useful anymore. So where's the line where
Mhm.
like I can explore this weird darkness and find the value there and actually do something with it? You know
That
what
is
I
so
mean?
interesting because I'm realizing that while there while there are things that we should accept, and that pure acceptance is going to allow us to move through it easier, I
Mhm.
almost feel like um, my goal in a way is to help people stop accepting the status quo so that we can all begin to be on board with putting our heads together and coming up with a solution that works better.
Yeah.
Like, but I also see, so the idea that comes to mind is that I feel like a lot of ENFJs tend to be very political and into activism, and very much like wanting to be politically correct, and are
Mhm.
always on that train. And like I've been on that train. I guess what I've had to notice that I think is helpful for me is that as long as I'm doing my part, it is not beneficial for me to get outraged at every single thing. And it is not my job to always be aware and in the know of all of those things, because there are things I can do to change it. But every single social media post that I make about every single like bill and like problem probably isn't going to change it. So it's like
Right.
I've had to learn of like, how can I conserve my energy so that I actually can change some things? Because like I think that you can see some FE users getting down the train, especially a lot of ENFJs will be like, we need to talk about this because if not, then we're all going to be like racist and sexist, and we're all going to have to work for corporations. And like, there's just like all of like that thing
Right.
where it's like, I totally get it. But
Mhm.
like, you could talk about it all day long, or you can find a way to contribute. Like, and not that that's not contributing. Like, sometimes talking about it is contributing. But I guess I think that
It's just another balance.
we can create a lot of pain that doesn't need to exist by obsessing over
Yes.
the problem.
Mhm.
And but I think in a way the goal of that is to try and awaken people to not accept it, so that we are all not accepting it, and that we're all working on coming up with something better. So
Right.
in a way, FE can kind of use outrage to sort of make everyone throw their hands up and be like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I deserve something better. And I think
Right.
that is the point of it. Doesn't always work.
Right. It's like a wake-up call.
Yes. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. Oh my God. Yeah.
Good.
That's so interesting. Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to add on this for
Oh my
now?
God, don't ask me that. I mean, yeah, but I feel like this is a good stopping point, and
Yeah,
I want to like
definitely.
honor that and know that we can come back.
Definitely. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if there's anything that we talked about that like piqued your interest that you like want us like maybe both to come back and discuss, let me know. Because I know a lot of INFPs watch my videos, and I feel like this pairing, like INFP and ENFJ is talked about a lot as like I think it's pretty common, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
relationship or friendship that
Yeah.
happens. And there's a lot of, I think there's like an instant understanding that happens, and we
Mm-hmm.
can be very idealistic about that understanding that we
Mm-hmm.
forget to use our thinking part to like really understand. So I think that a lot of people are really like would be interested in like the various differences in
Yes.
it, you know?
Yes. And this is a good,
So
I love videos like this where
mhm.
you have interactions and you can see things so blatantly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've had people be like, you're an ENFJ. And I've been like, yo, no, like
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah. And I, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think,
It's just like, okay, well, so this is how I'm in a growth cycle, or this is like something
yeah,
that I'm dealing with right now. Like, this is why you're seeing me this way. But all I'm doing right now is I've gone on a quest to gather these tools and I'm gathering. So
yes,
you're watching me do this
absolutely.
and I'm going to bring it back. And then they're just my tools. Then
Yes.
what I mean? And it's like when you
Yeah.
interact with people, you're like, where am I? What am I doing? What are they seeing me doing? And how will they respond to me? Like, there's so much to think about when you interact with other people.
Yeah, and I've heard that too, and I think and I told you this, but like one of the main reasons why I think that I'm so happy to be talking to you too is that through your experience and how much you've learned about type 2, you have like from talking to you, you seem to have a really real appreciation for FE and NI, and you
Mm-hmm.
honestly, a lot of NFPs that I talk to in the community, no offense, if this is you, it's
Oh,
okay.
no.
It is okay if it is you, but I just, all I hear sometimes, or I just could tell they have a bone to pick pretty much
Yes. Yeah.
with
Yeah,
FE or
which
NI.
I get it. Like, I understand y'all are heard. Okay.
Yeah, and it's okay. It totally is
Yeah. What
okay.
is this doing?
And and so I guess like it's okay that and I also want to say that not only is it okay, but I want to create content to help you in your
Mm-hmm.
relationships, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not feel that way anymore.
Right.
But like, I guess like I really appreciate that you seem to have this really neutral, I guess, feeling toward FE. So it makes me feel, I guess, safe even talking to you about it.
Ah, yay! Yeah.
So, and it's
I
like
feel the
you've,
same about you. I feel like there's a neutralness and a
yeah,
curiosity, and that together
yeah.
is like, okay, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important too that, you know, we all like INFPs and ENFJs are so emotional about things, and it's okay if you do have an emotion toward thinking that the other person's functions are like not as amazing as yours. But
Right. And like
like
maybe you need to. I don't know what's going on in
yeah.
your life. You know, that's the other thing. It's like, what are you dealing with where like it might be more useful for you to have a little animosity towards those. You have to get through
That
something.
is so true.
You know what I mean? And so like whatever, like
Mhm.
wherever people are, figure it out. Just keep figuring
Yeah.
it out.
It's so funny that I mean
Bottom line.
I could see why people could type you as an NFJ, but I also see that you're so
Hmm.
not. Like, you know?
Thanks.
So it's like I mean, even like I could totally see how you even talking about, oh, I was on a run and I stopped and I realized I had to text a friend. A lot of people might think that that was like an NFJ thing to do.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, and that's the other thing too, right? Is like what I want to do, what I'm trying to do a lot, I think. Well, and this is contradictory to how I started, which seems like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stereotype kind of things with
Mm-hmm.
the impersonation videos, but like I really want to examine those. You know, the fact that stereotypes exist is so valid. Clearly they're there for a reason. No one's just like
Yeah.
pulling this out of thin air. Stereotypes don't just like randomly pop into existence. There's some kind of pattern there. There's some kind of behavior that's repetitive. But I think like the more that you ask yourself certain questions, the more that you like dive deep, you're going to see that like, okay, you might let these exist, but there's so much more going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to
Yeah.
kind of like explore the breakdown of stereotypes or the
Yeah.
reasoning behind them. I want to talk about things
Yes.
more objectively and with curiosity.
Yes. Curiosity is such a big thing for me. And I think that part of it too that I was thinking about recently is that I think that these stereotypes and even the descriptions can be kind of static toward this is what this type could be. Where like,
It's art. Sorry,
well,
go
oh
on.
no, well, I just was gonna say that with if you are trying to find tools and grow, and I am too, that
Mm-hmm.
like in a way, it's like really we're integrating our shadow. It's like you're trying to use more FE and NI in a
Right.
way to sort of balance you out. And it's like I'm
Yes.
trying to balance me out too.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even you just saying like, oh, and if you are angry, that's part of the process. Like that's not something that I would have thought to say, but I also completely agree with it. But I do think that
Yes.
that is a more FI way. I mean, you even bringing that up seems a little bit more FI and NE, where it's
But
like
it
that's
still is
kind of
kind of like, oh
something I
well,
had to learn.
duh. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of something I
Uh-huh.
had to learn in a sense, or I have to remind myself it's okay if I'm
Okay.
angry, or it's okay in that it's part of the process. Because sometimes I think that there's a way I should be reacting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, were you going to say one last thing? Because I kind of, when you
I
talk
don't
and then you were like, oh, whoops.
I don't know. Oh shoot. You know what? Yeah, but it's cool. I don't even remember.
Okay, cool. Well, I
We're good.
subscribe to Hillary. I'll have that linked below. And thank you guys.
Subscribe to Megan if you're
Yeah,
not. Like, what are you doing?
thank you guys. And if you're new to my channel, I offer typing services. And also I have a new membership group that's about self-help stuff. If you want to join, all of
You
that
should
fun stuff
join.
is linked below. Yeah, Hillary's there. So
Yes.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day and thanks for watching.